Seeing Earth's vast evolutionary past telescope before my mind's eye, I building during the Paleocene Epoch, about 60 million years ago. There are fossils, of course, but the fraction of life that gets fossilized away is minuscule and varies a lot depending on time and habitat. It would be easy, therefore, to miss an industrial. If human civilization collapsed in its current stage of development, now that our industrial civilization has truly gone global, humanity's collective activity is laying down a variety of traces that will be detectable by scientists 100 million years in the future. The extensive use of fertilizer, for example, keeps 7 billion people fed. But it also means we are redirecting the planet's flow of nitrogen into food production. Future researchers could see these characteristics of nitrogen showing up in the sediments of our era. When we burn fossil fuels, we are releasing carbon back into the atmosphere that were once part of living tissues. This ancient carbon is depleted in one of that naturally environment. Elements three naturally occurring varieties or isotopes. The more fossils fuels we burn, so if our civilization is bound to leave for the future, might the same signals exist right now in rocks, just waiting to tell us of civilizations long gone? My new video on civilization yesterday, today and tomorrow is an hypothetical endeavor depicting some future fictional civilization on planet Earth where humans evolved in different intellectual species and entailed future conflicts. From Miran Sorry, and today I'm presenting you technically a 3-part series, or 2 parts. So in the first part, I'll talk about the map and its design. It's designed by me, by the way. And the second part, we're going to show you the activities and everything. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. This takes a lot of time today. Like seriously, this takes a lot of time. You should like the video because also that helps. You should comment for any other ideas or any questions. We'll answer it. And so that's the beginning, I guess. You can go to the first part now. We have. Okay, no, we'll actually be referencing it with its different islands which have their names and cities. So first let's start with the humid island. Okay, first some backstory behind CMAP. So the backstory behind CMAP is basically
a bunch of humans came to this portal from our world. Just to be clear, this is fictional. But this will help you evolution and understand different things. So a bunch of humans and ancient humans came out of this portal, built our world, but then it got destroyed by some unknown circumstance. And there was another wave of humans who started here, in the continent of Atlanta. Just zoom in on that, yeah. So now, this continent of Atlantia, or Atlanta, whatever. And why did I call it Atlanta? Yes, I'm way too used to US states. But we're going to be ignoring that. And look at this. Okay, can we zoom in a little bit more on that? Because I want to show them this text. So, East Colombia. Now, you'll see a lot of different references. And the reason why you used a black marker and it on the map instead of the whiteboard was because if we could make these references, right? So, East Colombia is a reference to British Columbia, and Columbia Ocean also makes sense. So we've gotten that. There's a bunch of mountains and rivers here, like a river system. And then this is a country of Colombia. A lot of countries are going to be very small here, if there is any countries on the continent. Like 3 or 4 countries, not small, actually large. So large countries here. So there's going to be 4 max on each continent. And a few cities we'll just highlight. Then there's this. So Manhattan, that's a nice reference. Franco's, also a lot of other nice references. You can understand a lot of these references. Just pause the video here. And then you know all of the places in here. It's really funny to be how I made them. But basically there's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 ports in this continent. So they're going to be actually there's going to be a part 2 of this video where they're all going to fight off, and basically the pirates are going to intervene, and we're going to see what a civilization world war truly looks like, what a full planetary world looks like with civilizations. But basically the civilizations have different abilities and stuff. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that soon. But then there's Hard Fox and other things. A lot of cool references here. Now, Atlan is the funny part, because all of these ports, they're going to be fighting off. So ports are recognizable by this structure right here, like Port Alaska. But Submort is an interesting area, right? Because Atlan is a reference to Atlantis, if you haven't known already. So Atlantis is around here. We know that. It's around here. So Atlantis, yeah, Atlan, it makes sense. This is entirely named after Atlantis. So there might be some references, but not like things that you will understand. Like a lot of them you won't understand. So let's move on to the Fisherman Island, or Surwateria. Okay, yeah, I'm really careful with names. Surwateria. So this is the I've just put this here, Surwater, and then Ia, because every single thing kind of has Ia in the end. For some reason, Russia, although we don't say Ia in Russia. Okay, but whatever. India, for example, yeah, that makes sense. Now this civilization is our first special thing. So let's go and talk about this. I'll zoom into this civilization right here. So basically, the story goes here is that a bunch of people at Submort, or this port right there, went and to fish like in the southern shores. But they got lost. So what they did was settle right there and built a bunch of boat cities. Now there's no countries here, but each of the boats themselves are technical countries or states which have like the northern sector. So this is the northern sector and this is the southern sector. I made them pretty balanced to make it. But then we have interesting thing. So basically a bunch of boats went there, but a lot of people drowned. Maybe because they wanted to expand their empire. This caused a lot of drowning and bad stuff to happen for this Surwateria. So abandoned boats everywhere, but eventually you come to Marinos. Okay, that's a cool name actually though. But Marinos is basically where a bunch of people discovered how to breathe underwater, and they found underwater cities. I really like the idea of that, either by technology or by pure evolution, which took years. I like the idea, but we're gonna be pretending in this like 2-part series that, well, they evolved to breathe underwater, although that is not the preferring possibility. So a lot of nice references. You can zoom in there, Dodomia. A lot of cool references. You will understand a lot of them if you know geopolitics. It's really fun. I also divided them by country. So Afri, and a lot of other funny references. Madagascar, which is capital is Antonio. Okay, it's a really fun references. So again, pause. Can you zoom out and then pause and look at everything by zooming in or by getting in full screen. So basically, then we move on to the Iraq island. So I like the idea for there to be an arachnid island. So like, it's like people here, and since they cannot survive on land. Remember, if this is from evolution, they cannot survive on land. But if it's not from evolution, it's from tech, then you can argue that the Iraq island is completely pointless. You can just skip the part. But if it is by evolution, then a bunch of spiders will go there, like spider type things, and they'll climb walls, but they basically live under the caves because they cannot survive surface. So that's the main reason. But there's Virat and Big Cave. These are the caves down below. You gotta remember, this down mark means they're down below. I wanted to make a sky city, but there was no space. So basically here, there's a bunch of caves like Virat, a reed fruit cave reference, Big Cave, the reference to the biggest cave in the world, and also Bangladesh for some reason. Oh, what does it say? Subscribe. You should subscribe to the channel and also like. Yeah, see, subscribe is a city now. Because they, although this does actually tie it to the lore, they found a bunch of records in subscribe, so they could put it on the city name. That would be funny if that was in the future. Okay, yeah. Honestly though. But then we have Port Cave and other ports. So this will definitely be a kind of a post for, like, what can I say, like other people. Like it could be a post for things here. Because nobody's really living here other than underground. So that makes a lot of, that will make a lot of things in the fighting part, or part 2. But we gotta go the portal which actually brings us here. This country. Now this doesn't have a name, but basically there was a giant country here, and this giant continent, which was a country on its own, like, and this country was really powerful. This continent was really powerful. They used that power to kind of build portals somehow, because this is really far off into the future tech. But again, eventually if you go too far in tech, you always go back in tech, because they destroyed themselves. So they really messed up with that tech. We'll get to this here, which is pretty much the exact top of it. We'll get to that though. We'll get to that. So next we go into this island. I like the idea of there being dwarf. So you guys can see it. I like to think of the idea that there were a bunch of people from Jupiter or Saturn that came here, and they like get different names. I really like these names because these are otherworldly. Spot red. I love that idea of there being a great red spot, but it's spot red. Then there's ocean, because there's high amounts of hydrogen there. Because in case you didn't know, there are hydrogen oceans on Jupiter. Okay, a lot of you guys didn't know that. But then there's a bunch of other areas like Kars. It's some other worldly language that we cannot read. It's not in English. Very odd. So next, if we go through here, let's look at the two ice here. I like the idea of there being different lands, and this, look at that, that looks so funny, south. Okay, so basically what's happening is penguins. That's a reference to penguins. South Pole or SP, North, South, PB land or Polar Bear land, NP, North Pole. I love these references. These references are real cool. I wonder who designed these. Okay, yeah, I designed all of them. But no more other things. Let's not get distracted. Let's go here. Now these two islands we're really looking for, but we'll get back to them. We'll first cover the Heaven and Hell. Now, I like the idea of when you're dead, you do not get dead in the thing, because it would be not fun in the fighting if nobody could come back after death. So I realized that we could make islands where basically these islands are made by these also, and they basically take whoever and make them fight. This is heaven and this is hell. So a lot of different references to hell and a lot of different fun things. This is heaven. And you can understand that they have a very good shape. This was also created by them. So whenever someone dies in the battles, in the fictional battle, then remember that they're not dead yet. They are just here in one of these islands. That will just make it interesting. Although if you were actually imagine a fictional map, also there's, by the way, also a bunch of island chains, so that they are like island hopping, which would be fun. There's also pirates here in different parts of the world. And I kind of just like the idea of there being pirates all around. So when you are going like water and other things. Now let's go to these two areas. These two islands are the final ones. And then we'll go to part 2. Because part 2 will be another video. You have to go there. So there's the Badlands, which is like an area, in case you didn't know. It's like an area which is like a maze in the real world. And I know these things. Well, also, if you go down, this is the island I mainly wanted to save for last, because it's such an interesting island. See, this is an overgrown island which has like savage people, like the middle age people and dark ages people. But they are really savage, and they have magical abilities, making, if you want to go through here, even harder other than the grassy and mountainous terrain, the overgrowth terrain, lakes, rivers. Also, you have to fight the magic and the savage of these people. This is very hard. There can be no peace treaty here. They're fighting over anarchy. So that's the video. Let's wrap it up for today. But you gotta watch part 2 because it's not ended yet. We're gonna do battles here and other things. It'll be recorded just after. So see you. Bye bye. See you next time.